notable contributions in the 21st century. Our goal is not only to guide each student to achieve academic success, but also to excel in the soft skills like leadership, creativity, good character, and compassion. In Bina Bangsa, students are encouraged to embrace technology instead of being apprehensive of it. This has engaged, enhanced, and extended their learning. We aim to imbue the students with scholastic and humanistic aspiration that they can carry with them into adulthood. This is encapsulated in our theme for BBS: Smart, Character, and Leadership. We use the English language as the medium of instruction for all subjects, with the Chinese and Indonesian language as part of our bilingual programs. Our students are nurtured to adopt Western thoughts and technology without losing their Eastern culture and morale. Students are encouraged to choose to participate in activities like Chinese calligraphy, orchestra, sports, drama, music and dance. Our experienced and dedicated teachers give their best and provide a warm and nurturing environment for students. We are blessed by having a cordial relationship with our parents and stakeholders. Their support has served the school as a pillar of strength. Bina Bangsa School, educating the leaders of the future.
Welcome to BBS Virtual EduFair 2021. We are deeply humbled and pleased by your participation in the event. Following the previous year's success in the Virtual EduFair, this year, our committee made improvements in the program. They enrich the interactions between you and our students. It is our hope that in this wholesome one-day event, carefully thought and prepared by the committee, that you will find the right students for the universities you represent. In the EduFair, there will be students who, after the day ends, find that their initial choice of major or studies are not the ones that they would like to pursue. There will also be students who find new interests in the major or universities that they had never considered previously. Whoever students you find, I wish you all the success. We hope that through this event, our students will find their second home for the next 3 to 4 years. Thank you very much for your participation. We hope to continually work with you for many years to come. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth and the final webinar, a webinar to discuss career in business and finance. We are so glad you could join us today. With us today, we have Mr. Donny Buscano, Mr. Winston, and Mr. Frederick, as well as me, Miss Jacqueline Edward. We will be the host of this session. Without further ado, allow me to introduce the three panelists that are with us today. The first panelist is from the University of Hong Kong, Mr. Ying Soy. Mr. Ying Soy is a student recruitment counselor of the University of Hong Kong and has been working very closely with schools in Asia and around the world to promote the institution since 2017. Born and raised in Hong Kong, he has also lived extensively in mainland China and the United States and is passionate about using his experiences to support students from different backgrounds. Mr. Ying Soy, we are very glad you could join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. The second panelist that we have with us today is from the Singapore Management University, Mr. Andrew Loh. Mr. Andrew Loh, he is the Senior Associate Director, Office of Admissions and Financial Assistance from SMU. His specific responsibilities at SMU are related to all key areas of undergraduate admission matters, including international students' admissions to the undergraduate programs in SMU. Mr. Loh, thank you so much for joining us today. We are hoping to hear a very good interactions with you today.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, sir. And the third person today is Miss Josephine Pope. She is from the University of Melbourne. She is the Student Recruitment Officer from the Faculty of Business and Economics, the University of Melbourne. Miss Pope, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry, Miss?
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Miss, thank you so much. All right, so before we get into the session, I would like to remind you students who are watching us at this moment on a few things. Some reminders before this webinar starts. Please ask your questions using the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please indicate to which panelist your question is being addressed to. Also, listen carefully to what is being shared so that you do not need to ask questions to which the answer was already mentioned. Through this webinar, we are hoping to have access to comprehensive information about specialization and career in business, to have a wide range of perspective from the university and career world, with particular emphasis on skills of the 21st century, as well as to create a positive sense of connection between where you are now as students of BBS to where you see yourselves in the future as a functional and purposeful citizen. So without further ado, allow me to invite Mr. Winston and Mr. Frederick for the next part of the webinar. Winston and Frederick, over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, fellow panelists. My name is Winston Tumbulaka.
And my name is Frederick Gratheo. Together, we are your moderators for this session.
We will be asking you panelists some questions regarding careers in business and finance.
Now, Winston, let's start off with the first.
The first question will be directed to all three panelists. What are the specializations available in business?
So, look, I think business is a really broad spectrum. And so I know at the University of Melbourne, what we do offer is finance, economics, management, marketing, actuarial studies, and obviously accounting. And it's business as it is now is really expanding in the different areas that it does cover. And I'm sure like each university does it a little bit differently. But, usually sort of all those, some people, universities will have a business management major or something like that. for us, it's a management major. And we find that, those different disciplines cover a wide variety of business, economics, finance, and those different areas that are really relevant in the workplace now. I'll let the others have a go now.
I guess I can also echo Josephine and what she mentioned, but I want to add one more point, that we believe that the 21st century, as how it is now, that students in the study of business, also in a evolving industry, in which there is a lot of a lot of business companies, a lot of companies that work on finance. They rely a lot on also the technology that gave rise to supports business and the application in business industry. So, for example, we talk about financial technology, obviously with a foundation in programming, but also very specific in terms of its application in the business world. In addition to that, probably how big data is being used. That is kind of like the key word these days, how big data is being applied in a real world setting, like how, when you go to Netflix, like they suggest shows that you may be interested in. When you go to Amazon to buy things, they suggest products that you may be interested in. And that's something I believe is also highly relevant in terms of the business studies.
Okay, so for SMU, we are actually very big in going into interdisciplinary type of studies and majors, right? So the traditional type of majors or specializations in our School of Business, you do the same thing: finance, marketing, operation management, organizational behavior, quantitative things, finance, strategic management. These are things that is of the traditional majors. But recently we have actually introduced new majors that is related to things like sustainability. So majors like this, as we mentioned, industries are evolving. Outside, world are all going into things like digital, right? So we have things like digital business as a major as well. So the specialization that we are in place, we work together with the industry to not just adopt, but to introduce things that the industry needs. So finance, even for finance, we go deep into specializations. So somebody can do finance, but they can go into finance analytics, right? So as our colleague from Hong Kong says, analytics is a big word. So everyone is going into that. So even if you study marketing, we have a major called marketing with a track in marketing analytics, right? So these are the areas that we are looking at. The other thing about SMU is that we offer students the flexibility of choosing a second major. So if you are doing a business degree at SMU, business management degree, you are able to choose a second major out of the School of Business and doing it with another school within SMU. Right? So we have that flexibility where you can do finance as part of that business major, and maybe a very popular combination would be economics, right? With the School of Economics. So econs or finance and econs, or econs and finance. So these are the different combinations that we are offering.
Thank you so much for that input. Having these majors, as well as having the outlook on the business and parts of the economics and finance world, we now understand that this is indeed a large area to understand and experience.
Among the many specializations that are available in businesses, what is the newest specialization in business in your specific university? Mr. Andrew Lau, can you go first?
Sure. So mentioned earlier, the one that we have launched recently is called sustainability, right? As we know, businesses are looking into ways to sustain not just on their own business operation, but the resources, how to make it better in terms of stretching their resources. Right? So we adopt this second major. It's a new second major that we have introduced in place together with DBS Bank from Singapore, right? So DBS Bank is actually allocating a huge resource in that area of sustainability. So one of the new major that we have is sustainability. Under business, there's also a new major called digital business. So as we see and we witness this year and last year, a lot of businesses and people are going online, because of the lockdown and all this. So digital business is one big second major that we have offered. So students learning digital business, of course, they'll learn about the payment gateway, how you look at how you design things on your website, or the logistic part of that as well. So anything regarding the e-platform, so you learn about that through this new major. So there are two new majors that we have in place this year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What about your university, Mr. Ying Soy?
So this year for the 2022 intake, we have just launched a new program called the Bachelor of Science in Marketing Analytics, and wait, let me make sure I'm not getting the name correct, but incorrectly. So it's something in relation to marketing analytics, and that really the idea of that program, kind of other panels have already mentioned, is the fact that we are in this area of marketing. We are seeing a lot of more usage in terms of how to maximize big data, for example, consumer data, for example, based on search history, and a lot of that to help businesses really expand on their marketing strategies. So I think this is an area, in response really to kind of what I mentioned earlier, the 21st century, the quickly evolving business landscape, and the fact that students would have to, if they are going into the industry, the next 5 years, or going into like a junior, either a junior role or like a middle management role in the next 10 to 15 years. And obviously, they have to know something about that because that's where the world is heading towards. So being able to make use of big data in increasing revenue of the company would be, we believe, is something that would be highly desirable by companies.
Mr. Soy, can you explain more on big data and making use of the marketing strategy?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So basically, there are a lot of so basically there are a lot of ways how people can make use of data. So for example, from the search history of a particular from a particular consumer that perhaps their profile. So they are collecting a lot of that based on, for example, your Google search history, perhaps based on when you're on a website, when you're on a certain page for how long. All this data that in the past where no one can really make use or make sense of. Now in the study of big data, you can actually create, for example, formulas, create different ways to understand this data, to find if there are any connections between certain things with the consumers buying, purchase, and all that, and then to turn those information into more meaningful information that you can use and say, for a particular consumer in this particular profile, they're more likely to buy certain things over the other ones. So when you are suggesting or doing your marketing, then you can say, okay, these are the products that perhaps you will be interested. And then based on that, you can continue to improve the workflow so that you can increase the sales of whatever strategy, product, marketing that you're doing. So I think that's something, I think some companies are already doing, obviously, the really big companies, right? Like in the US or the global companies are already doing that. And I think that will be something that, even the smaller company in the future would have the capacity, have the ability with how technology is improving. They will also have the resources to do something similar as well.
Well, that is very thought-provoking. Thank you very much. What about you, Ms. Pope? What are your opinions on the newest specialities on business?
Yeah, one of the things that we are always looking to is to introduce new programs or innovative programs that match what the market is looking for. When I say the market, I would say students like yourselves, we're trying to sort of decide what it is you want to do as you sort of enter the workplace, and also for industry, to make sure that our students are prepared to make an impact as soon as they start studying. And I think a really important one at the moment is, obviously we've discussed it a little bit already, but fintech or financial technology, algorithmic trading, those sorts of concepts are really important areas, and that we're constantly updating, because the technology is moving so quickly that we're constantly evolving with it. So we're very lucky with the great links that we have with industry, and that we're able to constantly provide these great services for our students and for industry, and have these our programs are deeply linked with technology, computing, algorithmic training, all those sorts of things. Our students have that opportunity to really balance those really great technical skills that are really important in the workplace, and can put them into practice. And following on for the discussion about data science and all those sorts of things, absolutely, that's sort of embedded in it as well. And ensuring, like, our marketing analytics is really the forefront. We're introducing new programs in digital marketing that, as has already been discussed, which is what's so important at the moment as we've moved more and more online, is being adaptable. Ensuring that organisations are adaptable to this constantly changing marketplace that we all find ourselves in 2020 and 2021.
Miss, you mentioned fintech, and I have a question. Will on-site practice on fintech by industry experts be given at your specific university?
Yeah, look, we're very lucky that we've got some great links with industry, and so we do work closely with them. We also have working in our faculty experts in the field, so we are, our students are exposed to the latest technologies and the latest uses and the latest theories, which is really good. So we do have industry come on campus and interact with our students in all different ways, and that's not just in a student's last year. They have that opportunity all through their 3 years of studying with us.
And in your opinion, how lucky are graduates today to be able to have industry experts to study from?
Look, it's really important, because it's all very well to hear the theory that the people have learnt in the classroom, and that's a really important part of it. But getting that real world experience of how it's applied in industry is so important. And I think that's how our students can adapt to when they go into industry, because they are prepared, because they've been taught by the very people that are using this technology, by the people in industry, that they get a real practical and real use of and real world experience while they're still studying. The theory is really important, and those technical skills are really important to learn in the classroom, but being able to apply them in the real world is really, really important when you get into the workplace, and our students have that exposure throughout their 3 years of studying with us.
Okay, well, that was interesting. Thank you for responses. For business graduates, what are the possible career options available for them? Maybe we would like to ask from Mr. Angelo.
Okay, so if I'm talking about the context of SMU, I think it's depending on the majors that you are going into, right? So as a student or as a graduate, right? When you study business, when you graduate with a degree in business management, but then there will be a major that is that you will specialize in. So take, for example, you are doing finance, right? Typically, if you have finance, our students actually goes to different places, because one of that, which we earlier mentioned, is that whatever degree program at SMU, whatever major that you have, internship is one compulsory element that you need to fulfill at SMU before you can graduate, right? So take, for example, if you study finance, there will be an internship for the students that will have to arrange with the finance industry, which, it can be from a bank to an investment company to any that deals in this, or even a private entity, right? Or even a small, medium enterprise. So you can work in a finance department, depending on what you want, right? So basically, it doesn't mean that you study business, you need to end up as a business person. Usually when we say, this degree program is just the foundation that helps you open up doors to many of that different industry, right? So in these days and age, because of the interdisciplinary majors that we have, we have students who study finance, but they do sociology as a second major, right? And they end up being somebody who comes out to write about the shares of the company, why, or looking at consumer behavior, right? Because there are different avenues for students to come out. So it's not that straight cookie cutter type of thing where you study medicine, you have to be a doctor. But in business, in the business world, it does give you some more doors, some more keys to open up more doors to different areas that you are interested in, right? So things like marketing, you study marketing, it doesn't mean that you need to be working as somebody marketing a product, right? So marketing, there could be a big wide range as well, right? Can you be a CEO of a company? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So to us, it's actually when things like this, we will really flip back to the students and say, okay, why do you apply, or why do you want to study certain majors? It's more important because we are looking at the interest, assessing your interest, your attitude and aptitude towards a certain major, and what's your own career aspiration. Yeah.
So, Mr. Low, you're saying that it is very flexible and versatile, yes?
Yes, the answer is flexible and it's very versatile. We are dealing in a very VUCA environment right now, right? So what we are trying to teach a student is not just the discipline that they are interested in. So as a graduate of SMU, they are looking and for the industries outside. It's not what the program that you have done, it's what you can contribute in terms of the soft skills, right? So a lot of people are looking at more on whether you are able to manage a team, right? Able to do something without being told and asked to do, right? So a lot of soft skills that is important, that is right now there's more urgent, right? Communication skills, ability to present. So these are skills that is more important over things that is the basic type of technical knowledge, where you can build that over time and over the age.
Thank you so much for your response, Mr. Low. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Ying Soy?
I think Mr. Lau have pretty much mentioned all the points really, but I think I just one minor thing to add. I think unless a student, business covers a lot of things, right? So unless a student is very sure early on that they want to go to a particular field and they want to stay in that particular field, they should really try out many different things. The reason being is that the industry is changing, right? We will pretty much have established that the fact that the job that some in a particular department, what do people do in that particular department, perhaps in 10 years time, 20 years time, some of that may be automated, some of that may be replaced by less manual labor, for example. So if that's the case, right, then students should probably, when they have the chance to explore different things they can do. So for example, in a business management, right, students have to know about everything about how business function. So they have to go from all the way from it's like the customer service and all that to like operational, to say like understanding how every single department or every single office function. So I think with that kind of a basis, there are obviously internships and roles that they do into, like, it's, for example, management trainee, being management trainee at a company, which is something that a lot of graduates go into. They actually get a chance to try out different things and then decide, actually after rotating through all the offices and coming up with, the one thing they want to be kind of like the thing they want to explore and go deeper into. That is, I believe that would be a chance for them to really, with that all the knowledge of all how everything functions, and to go into the next step of the career. And that also give them the flexibility if something happens, if they need to change their direction, then they also have that knowledge so that they can make the switch relatively easier. Than someone who's going all the way into a very specialized area. So I think because of the fact that this is so broad, I think students should really think through what kind of programs that when they apply to university, think through whether the university has offered that kind of broad curriculum for them to kind of choose and change if they do need to change, and also does it offer the opportunities for them to experiment and try things out as a student, and also in a early career, allowing them to do that in their early career.
That is indeed very true. I am now excited to take business too. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. Thank you, Mr. Soy.
Now, Miss Pope, I have a question. Why would a person, in your opinion, why would a person choose a career in business or finance?
I think the business and finance and the whole area is a really great way to make a difference in society. So there are some skills and some knowledge that are built in the discipline that are really transferable across all sectors. So for example, if someone wants to work in sort of sustainability or mitigating climate change, it might not seem obvious that studying business and finance or that sort of area is an obvious way you can have an impact on that. But our students who do economics, you do things like environmental economics. That's how a lot of our changes that are going to be made as we combat climate change. You need to pay for it. So bringing together the skills that you learn in a commerce or a business and finance degree in economics and then bringing together some of those other skills, it's a really great way to have a strong impact on society, in ways that are probably a little sort of, they don't seem obvious. Then you also get, a great way that you can, things like startups and getting involved in sort of those small enterprises and being your own boss really early on. Doing something like business and finance is a great way to be able to sort of take that kind of career path. It's a great way to it's a financially can be a very rewarding area as well. So if someone's focused on that, on how they can build a way to be able to support their family, then studies in business and economics or business and finance are a really great way to do that. And I just think that as things evolve and as technology evolves and as we, there's this whole idea that robots are going to take all our jobs. But the thing is that is constant with this changing technology is you need humans to be able to apply it. And the skills that you develop in business and finance are so transferable and so important. So, for example, in a management major with the Bachelor of Commerce that we offer at the University of Melbourne, a really important part of that is managing innovation and change. Now, as we all know, over the last couple of years, being able to manage change and develop that change and apply it has been some really important skills. So I think if someone's really wanting to make an impact on society, I think business and finance are a great opportunity or a great option to study.
Wow, it is really amazing how integrated the business course can really have an impact. Thank you. And what about you, Mr. Lau? What do you have? What opinion do you have on the topic?
Sorry. What topic is it?
Oh, it's why should a person choose a career in business or finance?
Okay, Actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about why should a person choose business or finance. I think the question should be directed back to the question to the person who looks at that. Right? Why do you choose it? Because if you are selected for interview, for example, by a university, right? The university would shortlist you for admission interview. So for SMU case, there is a admission interview that is in place, right? So usually question like this would be asked by the faculty to the students. Why do you want to choose business? Or why do you want to go to finance, right? So it's something for you to explore and articulate to us rather than we would try to tell you and market to you what you should be doing. So it's two different things, right? So end of the day, it's not about us trying to tell you, okay, you should do finance, you should do business, because it may not be your interest, right? So it's important to explore and to understand what is all this, the majors, what does it entails, right? So there's a chat just now, like if I like to do stock trading, right? So, okay, that's your interest. If your interest is in that, then of course the major would be a quantitative finance type of major, right? So it's about the interest that you have, and you have to really look at where you plan to do or what you plan to do, right? So usually we try to stay clear of telling people what is more popular in this course, what is the course that is, because end of the day, you know, law could be very popular in Singapore, but you may not be able to get it, or you may not be interested in that, right? So yeah, so same thing with business, same with finance.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for your input, Mr. Lau.
Is business or finance a highly paid and competitive field? Maybe Mr. Ying Soy, would you like to answer this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think given the fact that, you know, Hong Kong is a very much like, you know, finance focused, kind of like a financial hub in Asia, I think, yes, it's definitely highly paid. But there is a price, obviously, you know, it is very competitive, the landscape. At the same time, you know, it's very demanding for students who really want to, you know, if you want to make that your career, you want to go, because even within the financial industry, there are different things, right? If you go into investment banking, that's the highest paid job. But at the same time, it drains your life pretty much. So if you're ready for that, obviously, and ready for the challenge, you're absolutely welcome to join that. You will get paid well, but at the same time, you will work really, really hard. I think back then, because I know a couple of people who used to be investment bankers, you know, and I think some of them work over 100 hours a week. I know people that work over 100 hours a week. If you're not ready for that, you're being paid in the sense that you are being compensated for, you know, all the things that would come when you work that much every week. So yeah, it's gonna pay well, but you have to really ask yourself as a student. You want to ask yourself if that's what you want to do. Is that something that you are willing? Because you're obviously giving up a lot of other things as well. Is that something you want to give up? You will be trained very well in the area. You will be a specialist, and then probably if you can last for a couple of years, everyone will want to hire you. You can relocate somewhere else, obviously, with that kind of insight and also that experience working in a very competitive market. If you want to get out of finance, I think probably, yeah, you can probably get out of it and get a pretty good job as well without experience you gain, but you kind of have to weigh the cost at the same time. So my advice really for students who want to go into that, because the pay, that really should be something that students should think about before they do.
100 hours per week. Wow. So it's a high risk, high paying job then, Mr. Soy.
Sorry, my headphone just got unplugged. Yes, it is a high pay, kind of a high reward, a high demand at the same time kind of job. So, and yeah, it's not uncommon actually. I think it's probably slightly better these days with how things are. But you know, with how things are going virtual, probably also means that these people are working around the clock even more so than they have to they have to be awake when the U.S. market begins, which is going to be at night here, and then obviously London market as well. Pretty much all the people I know, they have to pay attention to all. Pretty much when the stock market is up, they have to be up. So yeah, I think students should really take that into consideration when they're pursuing a career in that area. But the business has many different forms, right? We already established that the fact. So I think at the end of the day, find something that you like, because you will be miserable to be stuck in a job for so long if you don't like it. And I mean, let alone the long hours that you will be spent doing it. So find something that you like. There's so many options within the area of business and finance students can do.
All right, thank you for your response, Mr. Ying Soy. Miss Josephine Pope, what are your thoughts on this?
Look, I think how high paying a job can be is up to how much, like, and quite rightly, with well put, it depends on what you put into the program or into the job. Certainly, the skills that people learn in business and economics or business and finance areas can be highly rewarding and highly sought after in industry. I think what's really important too is, and I'm sure all of our degrees that are at our universities that are here are really important, is how we prepare students not just for the workplace now, but it's obviously that adaptability going forward. So I think certainly it can be one of those things that as people get into the workplace, so those skills they learnt at university continue to sort of, I guess, pay dividends as they move up the career ladder, and I think that's something that's really important with, I'm sure, with all of our degrees. But yeah, certainly I think it's up to each individual is how lucrative, I guess, that can be, because some people, what they aspire to is that social impact. So whether that's going and working in an NGO or working in areas like microfinance that have a really strong impact on the developing world. For people that have some amazing skills, but they may find themselves in an area where, I guess, where they find the satisfaction isn't necessarily in their salary. It's actually sort of in that it's highly rewarding in that social impact that they have. So, but certainly, there's some areas, things like actuarial studies or actuarial science, that are highly lucrative, and students can certainly, straight out of university, can sort of have fairly high salaries. And as we sort of talked about, things like investment banking absolutely can be highly lucrative as well. So yeah, it's really up to each student, I think, or each person as they get into the workplace, as to how they I guess identify what that reward is.
So the skills are transferable. What specific soft skills do you think is most integral to transition from university to the workplace?
I can take this one to start off if you. While I'm on a roll, look, I think probably a really simple one is communication and collaboration. So being able to work with colleagues and collaborate is a really important key. And when I say communication, it's that ability to convey what can often be some fairly complex sort of concepts that you've learnt at university, and you may be like working with people who may not have the skill set that you have, and being able to convey that type of information to people that don't share the same level of knowledge as you is such an important skill, and I think something that is really relevant from your first day working in industry to if you're the CEO of a company. I think communication and collaboration are really, really important. I'm sure there's many more. I don't want to take all the good answers, so Andrew and Ying can have some of them as well. I'll let you go.
I'm very sure these skill sets can be sharpened as they go along the university life. So thank you for your answers. What do you think it takes to be successful in the business career other than what you have mentioned before? Maybe let's ask Mr. Loh.
Okay, so I think if you go to universities, apart from learning the technical skills, I think many universities are looking at getting our students to be able to have that problem-solving skills. These are actually very important, able to adapt, be flexible in the way they're working, right? So it's increasingly, you see a lot of students are looking into not just learning something, but able to apply the concept as well, right? So at SMU, what we are trying to do is we are trying to get our students, in fact, all our students, 100% of them, has to do a global exposure program. I mean, step out of Singapore, step out of the comfort zone and go to somewhere else. They can do a few things. They can do a study mission. They can do even an exchange program. Why are we doing that 100%? It's because of the fact that companies are looking at graduates differently, right? They want people who are able to understand different cultures, right? Outward bound, they know things outside. They'll be able to work in a team, right? So these are very important skills, not just as a business graduate, but as any graduates, right? So in order to be successful, these are things that you have to look at, able to have that problem solve. Integrity skills is very important. The ability to serve and to lead is as well very important, right? So that's why we have inbuilt things like the community service, which is compulsory element before a students can graduate, right? Able to write on their leadership skills, able to serve, and these are very important basic skills in order to make you more successful in life. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. May I call on Mr. Donny to address the Q&A questions?
Thank you so much, Winston and Frederick, and to our guests. We are learning. As a teacher, I wanted to now enroll in business to start a new pathway. But there are questions from the students who are watching. So I'd like to ask Mr. Low, Andrew. The question is, if my dream job is to be a chief financial officer, is there any specific major should I take?
If your dream job is to be a chief financial officer, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at finance matters and all this, I think finance and accounting would be one of the good combination to have, right? But then it doesn't stop you from doing finance with strategic management, right? Or finance with operation management for that matter, or anything. The point is, I think, yeah, if you're looking at being a CFO, right? Essentially, I think finance would be one of that area that you have to go into. Being a CFO, I think it entails having some licenses as well, right? So that would be a portion that you have to look at. So yeah. So accountancy is also one portion that you look at. So at SMU, accounting is not within the School of Business. It's actually its own school itself. So we have the School of Accountancy and School of Business. Right? So compared to some of the universities, they may put accountancy as part of that business course. Right? So it's a bit different, but what our students are looking at would be doing things like maybe accounting and finance if they are looking into that career pathway of a CFO.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Now, the next question is for everyone. The question is, if we didn't choose commerce or business in our senior high school, college as our stream or our specialization in JC, will you be still accepting us in the finance course in your university? And what's the next step maybe?
Okay, maybe I answer this. For us at SMU, we do not have any subject prerequisite, right? So you can be a science student, a commerce student, it doesn't matter. Because end of the day, when you come to a university, if you do not have that module or the subjects that you have currently, there will be the basic or the foundation course that is given to you. So the subject, the 101 subjects, right? So the basic modules you will have to take, right? So take, for example, economics is actually one of that basic module that everybody has to take. So that is one of that foundation course that you have to do. Introduction to calculus or introduction to statistics or introduction to business finance. These are some of the basic courses that you have to do it right? So, but at the end of the day, there isn't any subject prerequisite.
Okay, what about from
The rest,
Mr. Ying? And next is Miss Josephine.
Yeah, there's
Mr.
no
Yin.
requirement for us. For similar reason, I think the fact that even if you didn't do any business, commerce related subjects, accounting subjects in high school, it will be fairly easy for them to pick it up in the first few years. They may need to learn some new concepts from scratch, but I don't think that's in particular a big issue. I personally studied science in high school, and I did I did a major in economics, and that was completely fine. As long as you have the foundational math good enough for you to understand basic concepts, I think you will be able to do well.
We are a little bit different at University of Melbourne. We do require students to have done maths. So that's a key component for us, because we, in our course, we have all of our students do some comprehensive economics and finance subjects, which means we do need students to sort of have that a strong foundation in mathematics. So we do require mathematics, but we don't require students to have done economics or accounting or business management in their A-levels or whichever qualification they're taking. Those things can be really useful because they can be a great introduction, but yeah, certainly when we do, similar to the other programs in those sort of areas, we do introduce students to those concepts, but it's just the maths is what we do need students to have. That's the only one.
Okay, thank you so much. And one final question is that our students are taking the A-levels examinations. When they apply to your university, will there be another set of examinations that you are given you are giving to them, or what? Are you requiring entrance examination, other examinations aside from the A-levels that they are taking?
I can go first. Sorry again. I just keep jumping in all over you two.
Okay.
So for the University of Melbourne, we just look at A-levels. We don't need to see another exam. We don't need to see a personal statement or extracurriculars. We're looking at a student's performance in at least 3 A-levels. That's what we're looking at.
Okay. What about for the University of Hong Kong?
Yeah, same with us. You don't even need your SAT. I know some students tend to also take that. We don't even need it. So if you're applying with your A-levels, again, also 3 A-level subjects, then you will be qualified to be considered for HAU without any additional entrance exams or any additional testing.
Okay, for SMU, it's slightly different because the A-level results come out very late for us to be able to accept students, right? It typically comes out in August. Our term starts in August, right? So in order to be able to admit students who are doing A-level, there's 2 options. One option is for students to wait for the following year before they come in. That means they will have to take 1 gap year. The other option is we have admitted students based on the national exam. So this year there isn't any national exam. So we will take the school final exam as the basis of admission, right? But students we'll need them to take either one of the standardized tests, the English standardized test, right? So it could be IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, ACT, just one of them. They have to meet the requirement before we shortlist them for an admission interview, right? And after that, we would wait for them to submit to us the final results from the school results, and then we look at whether to give them an offer, right? So we don't, for A-levels, it'll be a bit too late, but they still have that choice to apply the following year.
Okay, thank you so much. And before we end this session, I'd like all the representatives from the 3 universities to just give our audience a very simple word. We may invite them to come and see your university. Shall we start with Mr. Ying?
We have had a lot of Binabangsar students studying with us in the past. Actually, they're very lovely students. They're very hardworking as well. So I believe if you also join us, you have no problem getting the grades you need. So just do your best, study very hard, explore your interest. Now is a good time for the JC students to explore your interest, do your research early, and I'm sure you all will succeed in whichever university you choose at the end. Thank you.
Mr. Lau?
Right. So I think it's actually do not really, I think the point about going to university is, is apart from the degree program, what is more popular and what is not more popular. The thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is about the interest, where you plan to develop that interest, right? Coming to universities, I think it's not about getting that grade. Right now, what we are trying to do is, building our students to be ready for the career outside, right? So be it their own entrepreneur or working for somebody else. But I think being ready is actually a very key word, right? So have to develop a lot of that skills along that way in that university that you're in, right? The soft skills, the networking skills is very important, knowing people, not just your own nationality. Some people tend to be, okay, I'm from Indonesia, I go Australia, I just want to be with my friends from Indonesia. I think that is not something that you should be looking at. You should widen up so that your network will be much wider, right? So in terms of doing business, in terms of looking for a job, you never know. You could be working in Dubai for your friends from the Middle East. So this is what I'm doing. The other thing is I dropped a resource sheet from SMU in the chat. This is actually a very good one piece of cheat sheet I'm talking about, where everything is clickable, right? So if you are interested to look at, instead of huge prospectus of a school, you can just go in and just click on any of that school, and you can just use that sheet of paper that I have attached, right? So yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. Now lastly, Ms. Josephine, last words for our audience.
I think that they've both made amazing points, and I think really great. Think about what it is you really want to do. Think about what you're passionate about, and if you can match that to a university, you're really lucky. And try and do that as much as you can. I think probably my other little bit of advice is something, it seems obvious, but I thought I'd better say it, is if you're thinking about going internationally, is have a think about which city you're going to go to and see that the city is the sort of area and the sort of city that you'd like to live in. Because if you're going to go and study somewhere, you're going to be doing it for 3 years. And so, have a think, is it the kind of city that you can see yourself living in and spending time in, and think that it'll really match what you're looking for in your personality. So that's probably my extra bit of advice on top of that.
Okay, thank you so much in behalf of the Bina Bangsa School Administrators.
Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much.
We thank you for sharing it. Have a nice day.
Maybe before we end, can we take a group photo, if that's all right? Pak Wirya, will you help us, Pak Wirya?
Yes, miss.
All right, everybody, cheese on camera. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you so much, panelists.
Thank you.
If we have questions, we will obviously look for you. Thank you so much.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Bye.
Hello.
Where's Winston and Frederick? They're so fantastic. Frederick, congratulations. You're so great. And Winston, you did very, very well. Although you were so nervous, but it's okay. It's part of the show.
You guys did very well. Well done, Winston and Fred.
Well done. Okay, shall I leave now? Because I still have so many pictures.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
All right.
Winston, maybe if you want to write about this experience, you can, and I can put it up on the Connect website. Yeah, Winston.
Yep, I will.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Fred.
Thank you so much.
Pak Wirya, thank you, ya, Pak.